With more on President Trump's attack on fake news, let's bring in former President George W. Bush's spokesperson, who introduced the president today at CPAC. It's Mercedes Schlapp here. Mercedes, the president says fake news is the enemy of the people, not the media. He said that it's not the press. He says the media always drops the fake and misquotes them. But then the president goes after an entire network, right? So which is it? Is it the fake news itself or the networks?
Well, you know, I think there is obviously the big situation with the fake news is the fact that information comes out that is not necessarily accurate. Some of these networks run with this information, sometimes not verified, and I think it becomes, it seems to be a reoccurring theme in some of these networks. Now, it doesn't mean, obviously, you know, there are plenty of very good reporters, and I think that he's decided he's going to pick a fight. President Trump's going to pick a fight with CNN and several of the other outlets. I think what you're learning in all of this, Liz, is the fact that social media has impacted how traditional journalism functions, right? So we're seeing the hierarchy of traditional journalism completely being disrupted because of the fact that individuals, Americans, can go to different places to find their news because of the fact that we've seen such, for example, a spread of, let's say, new conservative websites. Yeah. And you also see that on the left as well. So I think that that's where the bigger, where you're seeing this change. There's obviously this new almost media order. I know we talk about the new political order, but there's also a new media order as well.
Yeah, that's true. You know, but critics are saying that, you know, by the White House discrediting the media now and going so hard after the media, now, you know, maybe more people won't believe what the media may uncover down the road about the administration. They're trying to squash the free press. What are your thoughts?
Well, you know, that's interesting. I think that what you have found is even before, I mean, months ago, you would look at Gallup polls, and they would basically say that only maybe about, you know, 30-some-odd% of Americans trusted the media. So this was, I think, a problem that started happening. I think what has happened is that President Trump is highlighting the problem. You know, I think that what is happening, you know, he spoke about the First Amendment today in his speech, and it was an interesting take on it because he's saying, look, I'm free to criticize the press. Now, you know, I think that if there would be a problem where you see censorship or...
Yeah, Mercedes, he's effectively saying, I'm the beneficiary of the free press, right? I say things all the time, right?
Well, what he's saying is that he has the right to criticize the press and call them out. I think that there is a sense from some of these more mainstream liberal media outlets where that he feels, and I think his administration feels, that they've been unfairly attacked, and that there is a sense and a move to try to delegitimize his presidency. That becomes a big issue for them, and I think that, you know, he's been obviously one of the most vocal critics we've seen on the press, on what we would say the fake news. And I think, you know, the American people are smart enough, Liz. They have to decide where they want to get their news. They're going to decide whether they can decipher between fake news and real news. Yeah, and I think that, you know, it's an interesting challenge because what you're finding is that the media is trying to analyze inside and out what President Trump's move is going to be. Yeah.
You know, the president also said that reporters should stop quoting anonymous sources and name names, but we know that a lot of stories have been broken that way. Watergate, for example, and even Vice President Mike Pence, you know this, when he was an Indiana representative, he said we should protect journalists and their anonymous sources. So how do we square the two right now, Mercedes?
Oh, they're going to have to figure that one out in the White House. But I think that obviously what we do know about journalism is that they depend on their sources. I mean, that is what journalists do to get the information they need. And I think that for the administration, they're going to have to continue to make their point, to be able to say their opinion and make sure that their opinion is included in this. They're not going to be able to control every leak. They're not going to be able to control every source. It's just not the way it is. Journalists have a right to have to go to their sources and get their information. The problem is that there's so much that's coming in from the federal bureaucracy. Those individuals that, you know, they call it in some cases, quote unquote, the deep state, which are leaking this sensitive information, in some cases classified information. They're basically, you know, offering some nuggets, but not necessarily providing a full transcript. It becomes a messy situation. It becomes a challenging situation for the administration. And at the end, it feels that some in the federal bureaucracy democracy are also trying to undermine the presidency, that becomes an issue for President Trump and his team.
Yeah, Mercedes, you're making some good points here. And, you know, President Trump made an interesting statement. He said women are really running the show in the Republican Party. Let's take a listen.
First of all, I want to thank Matt Schlapp and his very, very incredible wife and boss, Mercedes.
So, Mercedes, you're the boss.
No, Matt and I are partners in ensuring that we can talk about and explain the conservative principles to these wonderful grassroots activists. They bring such great energy to this conference every year. I mean, it's thousands of activists who come from across the country. We talk about these issues of our time, and it ranges from repealing Obamacare to national security to border security.
Yep.
And I have to tell you, one thing I know is that there was a moment where there was a sense of the conservative movement being fractured. Today, when Donald Trump came into this room, there was a sense of unity. There's a sense that we need to move forward, govern, and make sure that there is success coming out of this presidency and ensuring that the conservatives stick together so that this agenda can be implemented.
You know, Mercedes, you're quite the diplomat, too. Thanks for coming on the show. Really terrific.